Hello and welcome to Crimson Rain. This is my review of the Scum Villain's self-saving system. Rinja Fanpai Zizhou Shitong. Before we continue, I'd like to say I will be referring to the novel as Scum Villain going forward. The novel was written in 2014. It was first published as a web novel on JJWXC. The novel now has an official English translation, and you can find the details of where to purchase that in the description box. The author of the novel is Mo Xiang Tongshou, or MXTX, who is best known for her works The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation and Heaven Official's Blessing. Scum Villain is actually MXTX's debut novel. The novel tells the story of Shen Yuan, who has a fit of rage over a web novel he's just finished and somehow finds himself waking up in said novel's world. However, instead of waking up as the novel's stallion protagonist, Luo Benghe, who has a harem of over 3,000 beauties, as well as the unrivaled ability to use both demonic and spiritual power, he instead finds himself in the body of the main antagonist, Luo Benghe's Shijun, the scum villain, Shen Qingqiu. Knowing that the fate of the villain is to be horrifically tortured by the protagonist, Shen Qingqiu decides that he's going to suck up to the protagonist to try and change his fate and save himself. Little does he know what a major effect this is going to have on the world of the novel and the protagonist Luo Benghe himself. The story of the novel is about Shen Yuan, now Shen Qingqiu, going through the plot of the novel, changing events, then dealing with the fallout or the consequences of those changes. If you're not familiar with the trope of transmigration, you can imagine it as though you were reading Harry Potter, and then you woke up and you found yourself at Hogwarts. You were learning magic and you had a wand. However, instead of waking up as Harry Potter, you find yourself waking up as Lord Voldemort. That's basically what's happening to Shen Qingqiu. Throughout the novel, he's followed by the system, which functions a bit like a video game system, in that it gives him missions to complete, and then it awards him points or deducts points based on how well or how poorly he does in those missions. Shen Qingqiu has a very good reason to not want to come back to our world, so he's very motivated to follow the system, try to earn points, and stay in the world of the novel. The novel itself is a parody of typical Chinese stallion novels. I haven't actually read one, but from what I gather, it's a novel where the protagonist has a golden halo and is always protected by plot armor, is perfect and a hero in everyone's eyes, he has not a stain on him. And the other characters are one-dimensional and the villains are one-dimensional, and they're just there to make the protagonist look good. The novel itself is not very serious a lot of the time. It is a parody, it's written in that style, it's very fast-paced and to the point, it's still intriguing, and there's some unexpected twists and turns, but overall it's just really funny, and it's not meant to be a serious, heartbreaking novel. It's lighthearted and really entertaining. The writing style is recognizable as MXTX, and as usual, her writing is brilliant, especially for a first-time novel. If you read this without knowing about the author, you wouldn't think that it's a debut novel. She really does weave a captivating tale. She makes sure to flesh out side characters. She makes sure that she sprinkles hints and hidden details here and there. So I'm really looking forward to rereading the novel and picking up on all of those little hints and details that I would have missed the first time reading. It's also really funny. Compared to her other two works, I found it way more funny. There are so many laugh out loud moments, and I honestly can't remember the last time I laughed so hard at a piece of media, be it a novel or a film or a drama. Really, it's the funniest thing I've come across this year. I'll admit, I didn't really like Luo Benghe at first, but he did grow on me throughout the novel. And I do really love him now, but he's not my favorite. My favorites are Luo Qingge and Yue Qingyuan. I really love their loyalty, it's so commendable, and I like the relationship they have with Shen Qingqiu. Yue Qingyuan is probably my favorite of all. I also really like Zhu Jilang. I really do feel for him. He's such a tragic character, but he's still so faithful and selfless. He's been through a lot that he didn't deserve, but he still finds a way to stay true to his own moral beliefs and to what he thinks is right, no matter what the situation is, even if he has to sacrifice himself. And that's something I really like and feel sad about his character. There's another character that I really like, but I'm going to talk about it in the spoiler section, because if I talk about it here, it's going to reveal too much. Even if you haven't read the novel, you've probably seen a lot of fan art of the main pair. I know I have. I've seen a lot of beautiful fan art of the two. The pair took a while to grow on me reading this novel, but I really thought that they were cute and adorable by the end, and I was really sold on their relationship by the end. The reason it threw me off is at first it seemed like Shen Qingqiu was just going along with the romance because Luo Binghe was so into him and he obviously wanted to save himself. So it seemed like he was doing it because then he's not going to end up horrifically tortured like the original Shen Qingqiu. However, you can actually see the subtle signs that he truly has feelings for Luo Binghe and he truly cares for him, especially toward the end of the novel and in the extra chapters. He's just a character that doesn't express himself a lot, not through words at least, and even sometimes not even in his own thoughts, but rather through his actions. So you can actually see the bond that they have, and it is something true and real and very cute. I really do like them together. I also think that the juxtaposition of the original Luo Binghe, so he does appear in the novel and he comes back in an extra. So when he's brought back and you see the interaction between him and Shen Qingqiu, you can really compare it to the new Luo Binghe and Shen Qingqiu and see the dynamics and the depth of that relationship. So I think that also helped to flesh out the relationship for me. My final thoughts before we get into spoilers. Compared to MXTX's other works, there are similarities, and the fate of Scum Villain is it's always going to be compared. It's a lot shorter than the other two novels, and I think that if you enjoyed MXTX's other work, then you will definitely like this one. So if you're not sure if you should read it, you should definitely go ahead and read it. Just note that it's not as dark as the other two. It doesn't get into a very painful place. You're not going to be sobbing into your pillow every night, but you will laugh a lot and you will be very entertained. It's just a lot funnier, it's more lighthearted, and it's a much easier read than the other two novels. Something I would like to note, and we will talk about it a bit more when we get to spoilers, there is a scene of non-consent. So there's a lot of chatter online about it, and I will say that the way it's talked about online is not really reflective of the scene itself. I think people either didn't read the novel and they're just jumping on the bandwagon about it, or they read the novel and maybe they didn't understand the subtle nuances. Or it could be that I read the novel and I didn't understand it. It's my first reading. I may change my mind in future readings, and if I do, I will get back to you guys on that. But the way I read it, it does come across as non-consent. If you're reading about it online, probably not for those reasons. I will talk about the reasons I think it is, again in spoilers. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but it is just a trigger warning. If you're going to read the novel, it happens in just one chapter, and you can skip it. What really saves it for me, and why I wouldn't put you off reading the novel because of it, is because the tone in which it's handled and the manner in which it's handled, I think, is not romanticized. The characters are understandably horrified by the aftermath of it, and they work together to really overcome what happened and to move forward in the relationship. And you can skip it if you need to. My final recommendation is, if you're looking for a well-written story, incredible world building, a rich plot, side characters that have a lot of depth, a main couple that really care about each other, that are really cute, then I really do recommend Scum Villain. So if you haven't read it, go and read it, and if you have read it, let's talk spoilers. The first thing I want to talk about is the non-con. It's their first time and it is so painful. It was really hard to read. But before they really got into it, I just burst out laughing when Shen Qingqiu turned around and presented himself to Luo Benghe, it just took me out of the moment and I just laughed and I couldn't take it seriously anymore. But then after it got really into it, it was very dark and I did not enjoy it. I don't think it was meant to be enjoyable and I don't think it was meant to be fun for either of them. I think it was meant to be painful. But I also think that it's not something enjoyable to read. The reason it didn't cross the line for me, and this is my opinion and how I see it, if you're in this section, you've probably read it, so you can let me know your thoughts on it, and it may be something that I haven't thought about. The reason it doesn't cross the line for me is, one, it isn't romanticized. They are both supremely horrified by what happened. And two, it's acknowledged as being an issue. It's acknowledged as being a valid thing for the two of them to be upset about and something they have to work to overcome. In terms of it being non-consent, from Shin Ching-cho's point of view, and we're reading the scene in his mind, so we actually know, we're privy to his thoughts. From his point of view, I think it is consensual because even though he doesn't have the desire to do it, he's not passionate, he knows what's going to happen, he acknowledges it, he's prepared for it, and he's a willing participant, even if he's not enthusiastic. So it's not ideal, but I wouldn't say he doesn't consent. On Luo Benghe's side, however, I would say it's dubious or it's non-consent because he definitely is not in the right frame of mind and he's understandably horrified when he sort of comes to and realizes what's happened and what he's done. So I would say that Luo Benghe is the one that gives me pause in the situation more than Shin Ching-cho. But I do think it was treated the way it should be treated. Maybe it could have been treated with a bit more gravity and a bit more nuance because I think a lot of people have missed out on it. But the reason it doesn't stop me from enjoying the novel and reading it again is I think it's handled appropriately enough. Something else I want to talk about. I did not expect the reveal with Yue Qingyuan being the seventh brother. So when it first came up as a plot point during Shin Ching-cho's backstory, which was heartbreaking, when it first came up, it was kind of obvious that he was going to be someone who's still in the novel and someone still in Shin Ching-cho's life. But by the time it came to the reveal, I had already forgotten about it and I wasn't too invested in it. So by the time it came to the reveal, it really caught me off guard and it was really a twist for me, like a genuine twist and a genuine reveal. And I really like that it was him. After you find out it's him, it's kind of obvious. There were hints in the past, as MXTX always does. And I think it just adds so much to his character and his backstory. I really liked his loyalty, like I spoke about. And I think it makes sense that even in the original novel, he didn't abandon Shin Ching-cho because of their past, their history together, and because of the promise he made. So it makes sense that he was always by his side, even when he was an evil scum villain. And his actions in the new story that Shen Yuan as Shin Ching-cho has created and what he's changed it into be, they make a lot of sense. It really just adds a lot of depth to his character and to his character motivation. So I really loved that twist. The other character I wanted to talk about that was going to be a spoiler is Tian Langjun. So Luo Benghe's dad. I really liked him. I didn't want to give away that he's actually a good guy. When you first start reading the novel, you kind of see him as being the big bad, the ultimate villain because Shin Ching-cho is no longer the villain. But it turns out that he's actually a good guy. I was just really moved by when he was trying to pretend to be stoic and like he didn't care about Luo Benghe's mom. And then in the end, he can't because he is a good guy, he's a softie. And I think it's just what he went through was not deserved. Just because of someone else's power play, he and his family couldn't be together and he suffered so much for so many years and he still ends up being an optimistic, kind and adventurous soul. And I just can't imagine the kind of strength of character you need to have to actually go through all of that and still be unchanged. Still not let that make you bitter and angry with the world. Something else is the extras in this novel are amazing. They are a treasure trove. I enjoyed basically every single extra. I loved the extra with the interview of Shin Ching-cho and Luo Benghe. It gives you a lot of insight into their relationship. It's also really funny. Throughout the novel, I was just getting more and more sold on the couple, so that sealed the deal for me. They were just very cute there. And Luo Benghe is so adorable. He's waiting for his Sejun to give him a compliment, and he just dotes on him and he thinks he's perfect. And They're really cute. He's like a puppy. He really is just like a puppy. So I read the novel before I've seen some fan stuff, I have, but I haven't seen a lot of it. So I was really shocked and worried to discover that people thought Liu Benghe was doing not really nefarious, but that he was intimate with Shen Qingzhou's body when he was dead. But I didn't see it that way. I think he was preserving the body. It could have been that he slept next to it, because I kind of thought maybe because, they walked in on him and he was holding the body when he was asleep and he wasn't fully dressed. But I didn't see it as any sort of intimate interaction that he was doing with the body. I saw it more as it was there for more of a comfort, more of a, like I felt in that moment he was that small little lost disciple. It was more that he was protecting his body, he was trying to bring him back to life. It was very precious to him, and I don't think he did those acts. I didn't really read that in the subtext. So I just wanted to say that because I feel like it cheapened the moment for me to think that he would have done that, so I don't think he did. Oh, I loved that the author appeared in the novel. I mean, it's so random, but it also served for so many funny moments. He's so terrible. He is. In fact, I don't love him, but he's still one of my favorite characters because everything he did was just really funny and so cowardly and dumb. And he added to the funniness of that interview section. He's just a ridiculous person. And even his username, both of these guys, their usernames. Why? Just why? You guys are nonsense, right? You guys are ridiculous, but ridiculously funny. I think all I can say is this novel is funny and it's not serious. It's so not serious. You know those on crack videos you see? For Scum Villain, you don't even need to make an on crack video. The whole novel is just on crack in the best possible way. So that's my view on it. Sorry for my rambling. I always do this at the end of the review, so if you've checked out, I completely understand, but if you're still here, thank you so much for staying to the end. If you've read the novel, let me know what you think about it. And if you've read the other 2 MXTX novels, let me know if you're going to read Scum Villain. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.